My name is Cassidy Taylor. This is for Com 101. This is my persuasive speech, and today is August 1st, 2021. Here's my note cards. I just have two. And then here is my four people. How many times have you been approached by a homeless person going to the grocery store and you've noticed that they seem to have a mental illness? Oftentimes we come in contact with people who are suffering from mental illness several times a week, if not daily. Some of us even have a person in our family suffering from a mental illness. So according to envymedicalcenter.org, it says, Nevada faces a severe shortage of mental health care providers, and a large percentage of residents with mental illness do not receive treatment. Although Nevada has recorded better than average grades for some mental health measures, the state still lags in areas involving access to treatment and provider availability. So because there are not enough mental health resources available for low-income families and those facing homelessness, Nevada should implement a program to connect those in need of mental health services with providers and mental health resources that can help them. Okay, so now that I've talked about the problem a little bit, let me elaborate. People who suffer from a mental illness have difficulty participating in their daily life as well as participating in society. Mental health is not prioritized by our government, and the mentally ill in our community are not receiving the care that they need. This leads to homelessness. This leads to increased criminal activity, and it also, unfortunately, oftentimes leads to suicide. So in a report written by Catherine Landreth titled Mental Health Problems and Needs in Nevada, Nevada ranks very poorly, 37th in overall mental health spending and 36th in per capita mental health spending, while at the same time ranking 4th in the nation for suicide rates. So many of us have people in our lives that suffer from mental illness, and oftentimes when we have had to help them, we found it difficult to find the proper resources that can provide the care that they need. So obviously this sounds like a problem that would cost a lot of money to fix, but ignoring it just drives up costs in other areas, and taxpayers end up paying for it anyways. According to an article written by Christopher Moore in Community Health Journal, in order for someone to be admitted to a state-run mental health facility, they first need clearance from a doctor, and oftentimes because of their mental state, they will go to the emergency room to receive this clearance, and that's not what the emergency room is for. Those are resources that are better used and allocated elsewhere. In addition, people with private insurance are able to check themselves into a private-run mental health facility, whereas people without insurance have to wait for a bed, and oftentimes they end up returning to being homeless because they don't have anywhere to wait for a bed. So that's a big problem. So now that I've explained the problem, let me talk to you about the solution. The state should implement regular outreach programs to connect those suffering from a mental illness with the resources that they need. And in order to do this, Nevada should establish mental health offices around the state. And in addition, they should hire social workers to go out to homeless shelters and assess the individuals who are facing homelessness and see if the reason that they are homeless is due to a mental health condition. So this would reduce the suicide rate. This would provide proper medication to people in our community who need it, and the program would also offer rehabilitation services to help integrate people back into society. So the situation of mental health is a big problem and it requires a big solution. However, we would start small in areas of the state that desperately need it, and we would work out towards there. Move out from there. All right, so I know what you guys are thinking. This does sound expensive, and maybe some of you are even thinking that you're wondering if this could possibly increase taxes. So I have a solution for that. So in 2017, recreational use of marijuana was legalized in the state of Nevada. And according to the taxfoundation.org, in 2020, Nevada brought in over $105 million in tax revenue solely off marijuana sales. So the problem isn't insufficient funds. The problem is our government does not prioritize mental health in our community. If we allocated this money to give back to the mental health resources and create more mental health resources, in addition to utilizing volunteers, we could make a huge difference. So I've talked to you about the problem, I've talked to you about the solution. Let me just talk about what the future might look like. So imagine 5 years from now, you go to Walmart and there isn't a homeless person out front asking for money, or you have a friend or a family member who desperately needs help, needs to be connected with a mental health resource, and you know exactly who to call. Now imagine 5 years from now and the homeless problem has only gotten worse. Suicide rates have continued to increase, and people in our community are suffering due to lack of care. You can see which one we want. You can see what kind of future we want to have. So those are our two options. For me, I have a family member who is suffering with a debilitating mental illness, and unfortunately, I have no idea where to even start, who to call, how to get him help, and so for now, he's just suffering, and it's not okay. And it's a problem that our whole country is facing. It's a problem that many people in Nevada are facing. So today I've talked to you about our mental health crisis in Nevada. I've talked to you about the problem, and I've talked to you about the solution being implementing programs to reach out to those in our community suffering from a mental illness and connecting them with the proper care that they need. And in order to do so, I urge you all to educate yourselves on this problem and educate yourselves on politicians and what people stand for and what they are willing to do for us in our community, because the answer is voting for people who support being part of the solution for our mental health crisis in Nevada. So that's all, and thank you guys, and here is my note cards again, front and back. And then here's my 4 people one more time. Okay, perfect.